It's Monday night chaos, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends of the Playhouse, opponents of the Playhouse. We do that every single week right here on the program. I want to welcome you to a very special program. Well, it's going to kick ass just like every other program right here. Monday Night Chaos featuring my very good friend, Mr. Razörfist. Mr. Fist, say hello to the nice people.
Hello to the nice people. Although most of you are assholes, let's be honest.
Well, but we give them the benefit of the doubt because...
Also, do you have one of those fucking, what is that background behind you? What is
this background behind me? This is, dig this, okay? This is premier, 1980s technology, okay? This is, my mother-in-law put this, said, you have a place for this? And I couldn't say no. So, if this thing ever falls down, it's gonna, I got no more PlayStation after that because...
Yeah.
This thing is like 70 pounds, right?
But
this is a glass painting with, okay, you've seen how they illuminate stuff with LEDs?
Yes.
Okay, and you're familiar how there was solid state and before that there was tubes?
Yeah.
This is before they had LEDs. There are fluorescent lamps back there.
Oh my God.
That flicker, and there's something similar to like a neon tube working in conjunction together with a motor. Anyway, there's a motor and a lighting mechanism of some kind that makes it look like the waterfall is flowing.
Oh my God! I felt like I was looking at like you're in Captain Kirk's cabin or something.
That's precisely what we're doing, and it's you know what it's weird. On camera it looks fucking stupid. I know because I tried it because I wanted to capture it, but you can see through it. But if you look at it with just the naked eye, it looks pretty cool. But I've never featured it on camera because it looks fucking stupid. You can see the thing moving behind it. But yeah, this is some premier 1980s technology right here for your ass. And I don't turn it on because like the electric bill goes through the fucking roof if I turn it on. This uses almost as much electricity as the PlayStation 3. Almost.
Or the 360 for that matter.
Or the 360. Well, there's the pre-red ring, the post-red ring, but we don't have time to split hairs. We got all the usual suspects in the comment section, as you might have noticed. All those people who were just fiending for a 8-Bit Podcast reunion.
Hit us with some questions, by the way, because there's dog shit to talk about.
Yeah, because last week was just a bunch of, oh my God, Razörfist is here, and then they went away because they could only type with one good hand. If you know what I'm getting at, and whatever they were getting at, it wasn't Offspring. I'll tell you that. But Mr. Fist, you said that there's a couple of news items that we could talk about. You said something about a brand new MMO. What is that?
Well, they're doing the World of Final Fantasy thing with fucking essentially doing a new MMO, which. Final Fantasy 15 came out a few years ago. I guess they're about on schedule with that, I suppose. But not like 15 was a resounding goddamn success. Although, don't tell that to the 5 fucking people that play that game. Because they will lose their shit.
In its favor, though, since nobody played it, this game might actually be, something different.
Oh, it'll be a rousing success by comparison.
True.
Goddamn. It's like standing next to Movie Bob. You wind up looking like Tyson Beckford, It's just
it's a little early in the program.
Either that or people keep looking off to your left for the word before.
Oh boy. Anyway, what were you saying?
Yeah, so they're gonna try for another Final Fantasy MMO. Whatever. I don't know how Alpha turned this into a fucking 15-minute rant on this.
Did he do what? You know what? There's so much on there. What did he say?
I can't even goddamn.
I wish you were here.
It's all speculation. It's all speculation. So it's like,
oh sure, but if somebody's gonna speculate, may as well be the little guy from Pittsburgh. He can spin a yarn or two.
Here's what worries me about it. The problem that fucking Final Fantasy 13 ran into, I think it was part of the problem was when Final Fantasy 13 came out, the first one, it was like. Holy shit, it's been years since the last Final Fantasy. We got to go out and get that. So even though Final Fantasy 13 was distilled essence of dog shit, it like broke every fucking sales record in 9 hemispheres. It didn't matter, right? It did not matter at all. But then what happened was they did all these fucking tie-ins. Oh, we're going to do Final Fantasy Agito 13, which wound up turning into 15 or something. No. It wound up turning into a game I reviewed. I forget the name of it. But anyways, fucking... They had all these spin-offs, and then, of course, they had Final Fantasy 13 2, and then they had Final Fantasy 13 3, and it was like, Jesus fucking Christ, let it die. Just let it die. It was special the first time. You should have left it at that, because then at least people talking shit about it, you would have been able to, you know, the fanboys would have been able to come back with, but look how well it sold. You know, they would have, it would have become a cult classic, which is basically a way of saying it's fucking dog shit, but a few people like it. But yeah, essentially that's what it feels like they're doing with 15 now. Is they're if they had just left it at Final Fantasy 15, I think they would have had a better chance at reclaiming the former repute of the series. Even though I don't know if you saw my live stream with Terry and Gell doing the Final Fantasy 15 demo.
Part of it.
Yeah, fucking Kingdom Hearts called it would like absolutely everything bad about it back. Like that's basically what Final Fantasy 15 the demo was. So to me, it just feels like if you had Final Fantasy 15 by itself, it might have been fucking special. But otherwise, now it's going to be this plus the MMO plus I think there's like one other spin-off game too. And then of course they're going to tack on VR to that, which is fucking bullshit, but you know, whatever. I don't see, you're watering down water at this point. It's fucking homeopathic medicine.
Well, not only that, it's interesting to me because Square Enix was a company that was notoriously in a bad way financially in recent years.
It still is.
Exactly. And to maintain servers and all that sort of thing for an MMO is labor intensive. And labor is the most expensive kind of expense.
Yeah, it's true.
Of any kind. And anybody will tell you that. I mean, that's why your underwear comes from Honduras.
Yeah, well, and Final Fantasy 15 was, they started this shit in 2006?
Mm-hmm.
Right? This game started in 2006? So that's a decade of paying a bunch of Japanese dudes to fucking crank this shit out.
Absolutely, and not to mention, you know, well, I don't want to talk about their real estate holdings, but they've got some here in California. They have some really expensive buildings. So that coupled with, you know, they making it.
Wait, whoa! Expensive buildings in California? Are you sure?
Well, you know, I mean, I was curious myself. The place was a shithole, but apparently cost money, you know.
Apparently you're paying by the earthquake.
Yeah. which means that, you know, real estate in Oklahoma is about to skyrocket.
Oh my God. Dude, the other day, fucking, I don't know, like a month and a half ago or so, we had a bona fide earthquake that was like it was an actual, like an aftershock from California.
Mm-hmm.
First one I felt in my entire fucking life.
Really?
I swear to God.
I mean, I know they're uncommon in Arizona, but
they never
first in your life?
Yeah, we get fucked on natural disasters, man. Nothing happens here. We don't get hurricanes. We don't get tornadoes. We don't get earthquakes. We don't get shit. Like,
what are you talking about? You guys have had at least 4 or 5 droughts and no one noticed.
Yeah. We occasionally catch on fire. That's about it. But yeah, we never have earthquakes. So the fucking walls start shaking, and I'm like, I thought a fucking plane was flying low overhead or some shit. I'm like, what is this shit? What is going on here?
Yeah, and apparently there was some severe damage in some fucking place in Oklahoma, because some place named after an Indian. Who cares? And this made news because they don't usually have earthquakes there, because they don't have faults as we know them. But now that they've installed them through, and how's your fucking frack drilling going these days?
Yeah.
As it turns out, when you poke big fucking holes in the ground doesn't like that.
No, it's not a big fan.
Not to mention all the big fat fucks standing on top of it. Have you seen the people in Oklahoma?
No.
Oklahoma barbecue is part of the fucking state anthem in Oklahoma.
My only experience going through Oklahoma was I was driving to Indiana, and
why were you going to Indiana on purpose?
I know, right? I get caught in a fucking tornado. on the way there. We're just driving along. It's like, oh, think it's time for a tornado. We're passing through Oklahoma. The fucking car lifted up on 2 wheels. I was scared.
Oh dear. Oh
yeah,
dear.
man. It was no joke.
Because if you mentioned that you were going somewhere in the middle of a tornado, I'm sure a lot of people pictured you on a broomstick.
I was,
or on a bicycle.
I was negotiating with every deity in existence. A few
Put
of
this
them,
motherfucker down.
Yeah, a few Elder Scrolls deities. I was.
You're all mad. Like if I had my motorcycle, I could ride right through this shit.
I know.
I'd be on fire, like like Nicolas Cage.
No fucking shit, man.
Well, and no props to Nicolas Cage, by the way.
No.
I just wanted to share that. Anyway, so
there's a man who's losing his hair with dignity, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, he's Coppola
he's
offspring.
Part of the David Spade school, where if we just don't talk about it, then maybe he's not wearing a wig. What the fuck?
Speaking of the presidential election, no. Speaking of actually half-ass gaming news, you bring up the MMO that's, believe me, Square Enix, I don't think could possibly afford to finance this, but we'll see. And for those of you that decide to jump on the Final Fantasy MMO bandwagon, we wish you lots of good luck.
Yeah.
Because Square Enix is going to need lots of good luck to fleece you, but it'll be all right. It'll be all right.
Look, I felt I've said this before. I think I did a rant about it. I think Final Fantasy 15 has more riding on it than a Bangladeshi bus ride. Like it's fucking.
Oh dear.
If that game doesn't pan out, man, they're fucked. They are fucked. Because they're already kind of fucked to begin with going into this game.
Fucked began like around 2011 for them.
Yeah, this is like they went from fucked to refucked to re-re-refucked is basically where they'd be going here.
Well, no, they've gone from fucked to, if this doesn't pan out, they're going to be what's called total nonstop action.
Yes.
That fucking abortion of a fucking business. I don't want to talk about that. That hurt my feelings.
Who does?
Right? I mean, because it's a company that always wanted to hang itself on being like World Championship Wrestling. It's just like World Championship Wrestling. It's a bunch of fucking hillbillies with TV cameras.
Yep.
So, and anyway, run by, never mind. Speaking of half-ass gaming news, though, and this will cover somebody who has been asking me this for a little while now. PlayStation 4 Pro coming out real soon. When is that? Is that next week?
I have no fucking idea, and I doubt anyone else does. I doubt anyone.
Do you have it in front of you? Do you have something? I know some people have talked about it, and some people are excited, and some people are going to buy it day one, and
there's very little support. There's very little support for it. Is
there anything launching alongside it that will are you aware of anything? Because I mean, I have to be honest, I'm not in the thick of it. Ever since E3, the E3 where no one came, they gave a war and no one showed.
Yeah. Well,
I've kind of pulled back in the last few months.
It's going to upscale your old games.
So it's just going to make all the text smaller is what you're telling me.
Basically. So Middle-earth, Shadow of Mordor, Rise of Tomb Raider apparently look pretty good when they're upscaled. But, I mean, there's very little support. Like, there's nothing that's like fucking, have to get this on the fucking PS4 when this shit
See, this to me, and maybe because I'm old or something, but this rings of the fucking 32X all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
Here, this thing is expensive. Well, what does it do? Well, you'll see. When? Eventually.
Yeah.
Buy it.
Yeah, and then it became the Star Wars arcade machine, basically.
Oh, dear.
Why would you get 32X for anything but Star Wars the arcade? Like, there's no reason.
I like Knuckles Chaotix.
Okay, you've got a point there, actually.
And it's got one of the better versions of Virtual Racing, but no one gives a fuck about Virtual Racing, so I don't even know why I brought it up.
This is the part where if Sainted was with us, he would flip his shit.
No one was paying attention to him anyway. He was trying to
Brits love their Mega Drive, man.
They do, and well, remember he was so excited when he got the Model 1 Sega CD, or the Mega CD as they call it over there in Europe.
Well,
everywhere but here, I think, right?
Yeah. Such an 80s name. Such a fucking 80s name. Mega Drive?
Mega CD.
Super 80s name, is it not?
Oh, and I think also Mega CD. That's a very 80s name.
It is. It's very 80s.
That's
and it's hard to
how did Sony not have that?
Yeah, I don't know.
The Sony Mega CD, they'd be like thicker and stuff, so they'd be even more wasteful.
Yeah, it sounds like a failed Sony format, really. That's what it sounds.
Yeah, and because there's so many. But the PlayStation 4 Pro coming. Hey, I didn't mean to make a segue. Did you like that? That was cute.
You didn't.
I didn't mean to do that. No, honestly, I didn't.
Like Reese Lightman.
But there is a lot of talk about the PlayStation 4 Pro, and then we just recently did the Xbox One S. Did that come out yet? Has that been launched?
I don't know if it's probably launching concurrently. I'm not exactly sure.
Okay. And again, I think it's the same thing. It's it'll make your game slightly better.
Yeah, and it does reinforce, like when we were first talking about how this generation was going to launch. I remember when the consoles were first teased and whatever, and we did the whole podcast shindig, and we were talking about like predictions for the generation. I remember specifically us saying something to the effect of, "This is probably going to be a shorter generation. It's not going to be a fucking marathon like the last one where it was like, Jesus fuck, end already." Like fucking 2015 and it's still not over. 10 years later, Jesus. But clearly that's not going to be the case with this generation. We're already upgrading these anemic ass machines. It's pretty much they're tipping their hand here.
I don't know. I mean, I think I would have less to say on the matter if I had been more wowed in this. And I guess that's really the overall feeling. This is essentially like admitting a small failure.
Yeah.
By commemorating it.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think part of it is this may, in a way, and this is purely speculative, so take it for what it's worth. I think part of it may be that PC gaming has gotten so much more affordable and so much more appealing. There's more genres of gaming in PC right now. You can get a decent one for the same price as a PS4, if not less.
Well, not only that has to do with the very, very sharp decline of PC sales in the last few years. So, of course, prices have bottomed out there, and development on known platforms. It was just a natural win.
So a lot of people are jumping on PC because the prices have plummeted so much. And graphics cards don't cost all that much either.
Absolutely.
Even a really high end one, it's only a couple $100, if that. And you wind up with a pretty.
And it doesn't come with a fucking camera to watch you.
So, but it's interesting because I think it's kind of, for years and years and years, it was easy for people to say, you bought your PS4, you bought your PS3, or you bought whatever. 15 minutes, the minute you took it out of the box, it was fucking obsolete. Before it came out, a lot of times it was obsolete, which was absolutely the case with the PS4 and the Xbox One. The only saving grace they've had is they had a lot more RAM, proportionately, than previous generations did, which I think was a good thing. RAM is cheap. It helps you make bigger levels. It reduces loading times sometimes.
But if anything we've learned in this last generation is all that extra power has led to what?
Yeah, nothing.
I don't want to decry what has since become a classic in recent years, which was Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii.
Yeah.
Which was followed up by Xenoblade Chronicles X on the Wii U.
Which I just played recently, by the way.
Yes, and which, I got to play a little piece of, and has proven to be this massive, expansive, gigantic outworld of a game, which turns out to be a lot of spaces that are just big.
Yeah,
not necessarily more detail.
Spaces, not a whole lot to do. You're kind of trying to avoid running into bad guys on occasion, and that's pretty much the extent of your gameplay in Xenoblade X.
Yeah, and you could say that with a lot of games actually in the last games that are available on the Xbox and on the PlayStation that were huge and had rich colors. Does that make a better game?
Witcher 3. Oh, sorry. Fuck, those allergies getting to me.
My goodness. We have to have you go see the 8-bit doctor.
I know, right? Shit.
Or to the 8-bit infirmary. So and that's a question, is that yes, and all this power is available, and now it is far more affordable, having to do with PC technology. Just 5 years ago was an arms race. Yeah. And anytime you have a race to the top, and then suddenly the money to support it disappears. Here, nuclear missiles at bargain basement discounts.
Yeah,
and that's really what's is. I don't want to be a person, when people talk about the consoles being obsolete. I think that's, if anything else, what we've learned with the internet is the consumption of entertainment is very much subjective, objective. And to assume, if you're going to base everything off of what the fucking internet thinks and, online connection speeds.
Yeah, then the Greys are putting black helicopters in your chemtrails.
And the Bilderbergs are viewing are you viewing your tax returns, and you're buying the Freedom Coffee,
iodine,
and all that stuff.
He's just a humble water filter salesman. Come on,
and he does so very well. But Colin Moriarty, he'll land on his feet. I tell you, one of these days. See that? That was a backward swerve. But anyway.
That was a pivot.
Oh, thank you. Anyway, what was I saying?
No, we were talking about the PC and how they've gotten so much more affordable because it's like nuclear missiles.
Oh, sure. And the other thing is how, and this is what's weird for me, is how Xbox is made by Microsoft. Or is designed by Microsoft. Microsoft makes Windows. PC predominantly runs Windows. How did they not figure out that they have lost control of the consumers on this side, looking in the face of plummeting PC sales, and then of course the uptick in PC sales, but at a dramatically decreased, bottom line.
Which is why I think that's part of why Microsoft is focusing more on PC now.
But the thing is, they're still pushing forward with marketing of the Xbox because it's all over TV in prime time, mind you. The marketing is all over the expensive spots during football games. Yeah, they run this shit for Battlefield 1, which is coming out very soon. During football games, the most expensive advertising there is, and they are the ones who have this data. They knew before anybody else, and they did not taper their approach. And they still assumed that they have the consumers by the balls when they don't.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think in those to actually support that, the Battlefield 1 advertisements, they're all Xbox branded. You know how some fucking advertisements, Sony will park a truck full of money up to EA headquarters and that game is best played on PS4, something like that. It's all the Battlefield 1 advertisements.
Always.
Yeah, all the Battlefield 1 advertisements are attached to Xbox One, which I don't know. Maybe it is better on Xbox One. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, maybe it is. I mean,
I got it on PS4 personally, but whatever.
Yeah, it's like that. You saying it for a few seconds is not going to convince me to do whatever with my money, or maybe it will.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is we talk about these midway upgrades, which is kind of what it feels like. I guess midway. Well, I don't know. I mean, this generation, we'll say, started with the Wii U in late 2012. Here we are in late 2016. And
here's my concern. It can end up one of two ways. You can either wind up with an incremental upgrade that's widely accepted, like when they redesigned the PS1 or when they redesigned the Xbox 360, right?
Yeah.
Where everybody buys it and whatever. But those were comparatively minor upgrades. This is like a full-blown, the hardware has been changed. It's going to have its own unique software lineup, supposedly. Mm-hmm. It's going to support 4K, albeit it's kind of smoke and mirrors. It's not full.
Yeah, because 4K development has not matured the way everyone said it would 5 years ago.
Yeah, it hasn't at all. What's going to happen with 4K, and I think we can all kind of see it coming, is 4K TVs. If you've been to Target lately?
Yes, I have. Holy shit, they're like a nickel.
Yeah, they're cheap as shit. People are going to buy 4K TVs just because it's the same price as the shit they bought before. It's cheap.
Yeah. a good friend of mine just told me he got one of the curved 4Ks for like $900 and is like a 50-inch. So it's like, that's insane.
Yeah, they're down to HD TV prices already.
Yeah, and those curved ones are expensive to make too.
So Sony and Microsoft, they're behind the curve on this. They're way behind the curve on 4K. Well, they didn't see this coming at all. I don't think they knew
that's the nature of the console business as well. I mean, they might have been. Now that's also them though. Them still stuck and marinated in what used to work.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of businesses that, you know, there were cautionary tales all along. For instance, I don't want to name names specifically, but there's been a lot of business. I hate to keep bringing up wrestling, so I'll bring up
DNA.
Well, there's a lot of instances. There's a lot of businesses where one day the business changed, and everyone wanted to keep marching down what this primrose path that they had built for themselves. Meanwhile, their business was going in this other direction, and before they knew it, they were hemorrhaging money. And we're well past that point. And that's the thing, is to keep hearing about these companies losing money, but they're still here.
Yeah.
You know, that's, I don't know. Overall, the point is, I hate to say that I don't want to say that I saw this coming, because, I mean, when you were getting boos at E3, and not to say, you know, when the deck is stacked at E3, like they plant people who work for the company to sit there and clap, and when the booing is louder, you know, some shit's up.
It's getting to be a full blown work.
It's like, what is this, Monday Night Raw?
No, it is. You almost expect them to start handing out plant signs, you know, it's like WWE Raw or a Hillary rally.
I know, and
it's one of the.
And it seems like all the Twitter loyalists like want to do these takeovers and stuff, but yet they keep buying the fucking game, so that's proving that I guess what they're doing is right.
Yeah, I don't.
And that's not healthy.
No, it's not. It does. Being this far behind the curve on 4K, I don't think is wise for them. That's a big reason why these consoles are coming out. They really have to keep up with the Joneses. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that you've got your console fanboys, for whoever it may be, who are married to their console of choice, and they have their list of reasons why they think it's great. And unfortunately, one of the biggest illusions they sold the fanboys this generation was, oh my God, can you believe the power? You know? And it's like, what?
Well, but that's the same, you know, that's the same line of BS, the same song and dance they break out every time as I think their safety net.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, well, but it's more powerful. I mean, just like the same bullshit that Apple brings out is it's the most powerful MacBook yet. It's like, it better fucking be.
Yeah, or the shit they do with your phone every, you know.
Absolutely. It's the best one yet. It's like, well, it goddamn well better be. But the thing is, that's not a selling point.
Yeah. So I think what they're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. They got to hit the refresh button on these consoles, because I don't know if they're hearing from developers that maybe the games are starting to suffer. Although, what games?
That's a very valid question. Very valid.
The number of titles has plummeted this generation, and that is just a fact. That is a mathematical fact. The sheer number of AAA releases. Man, do you remember even 5 years ago, where it was like 7 major AAA, like EA would release 5 games in a year. Mm-hmm. Now it's 2, they're 3. Releasing Battlefield 1 and Madden and whatever.
And FIFA.
Yeah, they got their sports titles, of course, but it's the sports titles and Battlefield 1. And there you are. That's it. That's it for this year. They have 1 game this year. Ponder that for a minute. That's fucking mind-blowing.
Well, and not only that is because what people don't recognize is a lot of people assume that the major publishers do all their shit in-house. They farm out a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
And because, and you can say what you want, we've speculated a number of times on where these studios went and where these good hired hands in the video game business, where they went. They worked for a company that couldn't handle their shit. And, a lot of people, because, you think about it, people 5-6 years ago who were in the video game business are now, 5-6 years later, they started making money and now have a family and have a mortgage and have a car payment. They had to go somewhere where something was actually going to pay their bills. And so the video game industry, a lot of those people are gone, and it's going to be some time before they can retrain new hands to make the games that have to be made.
You know what? You might be actually onto something there, because I've long felt that video games don't treat game designers as quite as important as they are.
No, of course not. That goes all the way back to Warren Robinette.
Yeah, compare, for example, the ailing comic book industry.
Okay,
right? Like the comic book industry as we know it is going to be gone in a decade and a half, if not sooner. It's really headed down the other side of the mountain.
Well, don't forget, the two major entities are spending all their fucking money making movies, and one of them has Disney, so they have nothing to worry about.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're going to be using them for movie properties. They're going to evolve. I'm not saying comics are going to go away, but you understand what I mean. In their present incarnation, that present incarnation is not going to last 2 more decades, and that is just a mathematical fact. It's unsustainable.
Mm-hmm.
But their creators are treated and often paid like demigods. Depending on who it is, obviously. Jim Lee still pulls down outlandish sums of money.
So does fucking Jeff Loeb and
Brian Michael Bendis and
Steranko and all those people.
Steranko, yes. All the big names in comic books are still paid exorbitantly well.
Which is why the fucking comics cost $6.
Yeah. Now, and that's not completely reserved. Yes, a lot of comic creators don't get paid very well. Usually what they'll do is they'll farm out to like South American dudes who, they'll work for pennies and a handful of pocket lint an hour, and that's their fucking page rate or whatever. And that, they'll pay those guys kind of crappy. But in the overall, the baseline like page rate is not half bad. I happen to know because I've done, audition pieces or whatever for Marvel and DC. But, their page rate is not bad at all. It's nothing to sneeze at. Game developers should be so lucky to get paid that well. Mm-hmm. Game developers have no presence. They have no authorship. And the few that do are like the Hideo Kojimas, where it's kind of the emperor has no clothes situation, where he's just been selling his name for like fucking 20 years. You know what I mean? And to the point where it's reached a lunatic fever pitch, like with Phantom Pain, where it's less... Metal Gear Solid is a happy byline to a Hideo Kojima game. You know what I mean? Like, that's the main event. Every chapter begins with a Hideo Kojima chapter.
Oh, well, should go back to Metal Gear Solid 4. The fucking the load scenes are the fucking star of the show. No one gives a fuck about this sneaking around shit.
Oh man, replace Solid Snake smoking with repeated utterances of the words Hideo Kojima game. Like that's the Phantom Pain, man. And I honestly, that's one of the few things. Yes, I make fun of it. Yes, I make fun of Hideo Kojima because he's a hack and he's done irreparable harm to the video game industry. But I do admire that he's trying to take his name back and he's trying to make that an entity unto itself, because that's something a lot of creators can't do because the industry does not allow designers to be stars anymore.
Oh, yeah, it's an absolute caste system. It will always be the people down, and, I mean, you have to wonder, and that's the thing. People talk about how much video games cost now, and that was before, there was a cottage industry and all these people that put together, and it was directly reliant on computer speed and things like that. So to compare what we have now to the the video game computer industry of the 1970s, 1980s would be unfair. Yeah. But the analogy of, just the workers, it's a key example of what they say in communist circles, that capitalism is a machine whose gears are oiled by the blood of the workers. And that is none more true than people. And you're old enough to remember this, back in the 90s when everyone was afraid of Y2K, there was this widespread hiring and training of people to work with computers, to change banking software. Those people ultimately learned to work with software, and they went into the software business, creating this glut of people who knew how to work with this stuff, then created an expansion in those businesses. And then it came to be the idea that, I remember this, people are saying, oh, you should get into computers. That's where the money is. And now those people are treated like shit on shoes.
It's true. It's a fact. It's kind of like
just
the people
like fucking graphic designers in this country. You cannot fucking stumble into a bar without running into 2 or 3 graphic designers.
Yeah, no shit. No shit. Or it's like, no, even a few years ago, all the people were jumping into because people get into, I want to design games. I want to make games. I want to whatever. It's kind of like when I was a little kid and I watched cartoons and I was like, fuck, I really want to draw cartoons. I want to draw a card. Then you realize that all it is marginal changes in the same drawing over and over again, and you realize, oh my god, that's incredibly boring, and unless I'm Korean, I'm not going to get to do it. So it was like,
unless you can work for 9 cents a day. You're
So it was like, wow, that's something I don't want to do. Game design is the exact same way. I have no interest whenever somebody comes onto my fucking channel and spews that happy horse shit about, well, unless you can do better, then you better shut your mouth. It's like, I don't want to do better. I don't want to make a game. It is one of the most soul-crushing, boring, mind-numbing exercises in human existence. You cannot imagine what a harrowing experience it is to sit there in a fucking cubicle and program a goddamn game for hours. It is so boring. It's not a creative exercise. It's primarily a mathematical one.
Oh, absolutely. It's a procedural exercise. And
I have no interest in it whatsoever. I will happily play games. I have no interest in making them. At most, I could be an ideas guy. You know, I'm going to write dialogue for the game kind of. At least that's a marginally creative exercise.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And
but, I mean, that kind of shit just blows my mind. It's the...
But yeah, just the way that software developers and designers and game makers themselves have allowed this to go on. Now, I'm not going to get on some fucking high horse about unions and blah, 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 blah. But the fact remains is these are people who didn't stick up for themselves, and then what you have is what you had.
Yeah.
Pure and simple. And,
yeah.
You know, I mean,
they don't even have that. Because back in the day, you had these superstar creators like John Romero or whoever the fuck, you know, you don't even have that anymore. You know, you have a very small number of bankable names in the video game industry, and if they fuck up once, look at Patrice Desilets, folks. What happened to that guy? That guy created Assassin's Creed. Where's he at now, folks? Where's he at? Where's he at? He ran afoul of Ubisoft, and now he is done. Mm-hmm. He is. No one wants to hear from him. No one wants to make games with him. That's the video game industry, folks. That's what a complete absence of authorship and name recognition gets you. Even Jade Raymond, what was the last major thing? Like there are creators who are absolutely an object lesson in how you can fall from grace in one game. And never be bankable again and never make another worthwhile. It almost happened to Warren Spector with the Epic Mickey games, which I contend are fantastic games, by the way.
Oh, I agree. And you bring up an interesting point because there's it's so much that is this a business of really the design and marketing of software? Because it seems to where the marketing is more important than the end product.
Yeah.
People are not interested, and I've talked about this with, you know, the recent slew, and this probably goes way back, but with a lot of metal records in recent years and rock and roll records, so-called rock and roll records, where it seems to be more about making names as opposed to showing your art and giving music to the world. Yeah. And video games seem to be more about making names and improving corporate portfolio than to introducing money-making
it's not
intellectual property into the market.
You know what? I think you're mostly right. But I would add the caveat that it's not even about making names because nobody makes new names anymore. It's all the same names that we had before. We just need an even better sequel that's going to do even better. You know, that's all it's about.
And that too, and it kind of bounces back and forth from that.
Yeah.
But again, it's a matter of, you know, who is and who is not and all that, and you know, and much in like the way that the music industry runs, a lot of times that they'll just be name drops to make a piece of software seem more significant. It's like, oh well, this person is like, you know, that person was one of like 300 damn people that made this possible. So don't be mad at them specifically. Be mad at all 300 of them.
Yeah, this is why you know, Dishonored, which is a fun game, but is disappointing. And Dishonored 2 looks like more of the same in that sense. Just a fun game to dick around with, but not a whole lot underneath the hood. Dishonored had Harvey Smith at the helm, who was one of the principal game designers. I mean, one of the most important figures behind Deus Ex, arguably the greatest video game ever made. And this guy makes Dishonored. Like, it's okay. In theory, you've got all the ingredients there, and they had the visual designer from Half-Life. Titans are gathering here. This is Arcane Studios. They've got that old school design philosophy, that looking glass kind of modus operandi. And then what happens? It's a better BioShock. That's what it is. Fun to dick around with, but not a whole lot beyond that.
You seem confused, but I want to point you in the direction of a bunch of gentlemen who acquired success on their own, doing great things, or at least some people thought, and made lots of money doing it, from different backgrounds, and then they appeared on a VH1 show called Supergroup and spewed dog shit onto the airwaves. And I want you to reconsider both of those points. Just because you did something one time. Similarly to like when nowadays, because Jack Nicholson doesn't really act like he used to.
Oh, God.
But they'll call on Jack Nicholson and he'll give an interview. A guy who doesn't really act anymore. And they want to know what he thinks about the people who are acting these days. And of course, in a oh-so-Jack curmudgeonly way, if he's not yelling at the Lakers, he's yelling about, oh, well, it's just back in my day, way back when. And, you know, you go back to when he was a smiling guy back in the 60s. He wouldn't have said anything even similar to that. So why would you take it from someone who used to do something?
Yeah, no shit. No, it's kind of like game. It's one of the reasons this kind of brings us full circle. This is one of the reasons game design school is complete dog shit, and many other kinds of schools.
School of any kind is usually bullshit.
Yeah, seminary school the same way. God damn. Let's say you're going to a seminary, you're trying to learn how to be a minister. You go to one of those Christian colleges, whatever they're called. You know, I'm trying to think of what. Anderson University. Let's say you go to Anderson University.
I was going to say Azusa Pacific, but okay.
Yeah, let's say you go to Anderson University and you're going to learn how to be a pastor. Why is this guy teaching you? Why doesn't he have a church? Pulling down tens of thousands of dollars. Because he failed. He failed hard. He did a face plant. He probably tried to open like 5 different fucking churches and he shit the bed every time. And you're taking an instruction from him. You know, it's the same way with game design.
Well, you know, I wanted to make an analogy, and interestingly, how these 3 things will tie together because they do. Professional wrestling schools. Have you ever seen what goes on in a professional wrestling school? Some dumb fuck who couldn't draw money suddenly decided, I'm going to get me a gym. And I'm going to build a ring. And a bunch of people are going to get hurt, and they're going to pay me.
Well, you don't want to learn how to wrestle from Scotty Riggs? No. Van Hammer? No.
You know, and what's funny is you'll notice this. And it's funny you bring up seminary school because I have experience with that. and I have also experience with wrestling schools, and I've seen how video game design goes. And they all work off the same program that ITT Tech had. It's the standardized course to teach you a non-standard art form.
Yeah.
How can you teach people how to be a craftsman? You can't, because in seminary school, they're actually teaching you how to be a bullshit artist and keep people coming back to your church. All the stuff in the Bible was printed a long fucking time ago.
Yeah, you want to learn how to be
all the ministers have it open. That's how they know the Bible. What they're teaching you is how to draw money consistently.
That's true. If you want to learn how to be a pastor, go shack up with a carnival barker. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you'll learn a lot.
They'll teach you more. They'll teach you more than any fucking.
You'll learn it's the same clientele, just on different days.
That's true.
But anyway, but yeah, and video game design school is this. I remember somebody sent me I forget who it was. Like, you like video games? Here, there's this course, and it was from some school. And I looked at it, and I looked at all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this looks terribly boring. I'll see ya. Yeah. But they try and dress it up like you're going to be playing video games for life and leisure and all this stuff. And similar to like what happened with Thomas Jefferson University, is a whole bunch of people found out that they got sold a bill of goods.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Man, okay, this is going to lead me back to one of my infamous comic book store stories. But oh my God. So the comic shop I used to work at was right next to the Arizona Art Institute. It was right there, like just a few blocks away. So a lot of those students would roll in, and they had a video game design course that was big time, right? Like it was the main thing they were whoring on TV at the time. So we would get these students coming in, and every day they got more and more pathetic. It was great. You would start out, and I worked there for a couple years, so I got to see the evolution. Right? I got to see them over the course of their education. They'd come in at the beginning, and the semester had just started, and they were so excited, and all they could talk about was their video game portfolio they're going to build together, and oh my God, I'm going to this art institute, I'm going to make video games, I've already got my letters written for Nintendo of America. They were ready to do it all. And then by the next year, they're just like, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. I don't know what's going on. I don't know a fucking thing about making games. I don't think I want to. I think I just want to sit at home and play games. This is bullshit. Meanwhile, all these students are filing in over at game design schools. They're learning how to design levels. They're learning about 3D Studio Max and all this shit. Meanwhile, there's a coworker girl I'm working with. Fucking ripe Bulgarian chick. She stank like an outhouse. But anyway, she was dating this lanky dude, and he was just coding in his basement, making mods and shit. He gets a call from Nintendo of America. He winds up moving to Seattle and working for him. The whole time, he didn't even enroll in a damn class. All these people are fucking getting ripped off. Just consistently. And this one dude coding in his basement learns all the skills that he needs to be a bona fide game designer for Nintendo of America.
That's, you know, it's interesting because, and this is always something that I find really funny, is they talk about, because these are usually run by, or at least have some capital coming in from large companies, large corporations, and then they become small corporations under themselves. The University of Phoenix is one of those, Everest College, things like that. They usually have money funneling in from one place or another. And it's always interesting to hear that that stuff was taken over by these large companies away from, you know, seedy people and all that stuff, only to find out that they're just as fucking seedy. The only difference is they have a logo.
Yeah, it's true.
You know, you know, there's been a lot of this, and they're just basically snake oil salesmen. You know, I mean, you know, video games have only been around for, let's say, a half century. Okay. But the video game schools only came, you know, during the second half of that. Yeah. How did the people who got us that far, how did they know? They learned by doing.
I'll tell you exactly how. They fucked around with Cubase in their fucking basement somewhere, and they wound up learning how to code their own little games, and then they put one together on a floppy disk, and one day they just sent a letter to, like, most of the people, Looking Glass Studios. I listen to this Looking Glass Studios podcast that MIT does, right? Most of those people were MIT graduates. They were getting engineering degrees and shit, and they wound up working for a video game company. Right? They weren't even pursuing that, and they wound up working for it. And then there were just people who would be like, hey, I really want to work on games. One of them just sends a letter. Hey, I think it was Randy Smith, actually, who wound up being a big game designer. He worked on Thief Deadly Shadows and a bunch of other fucking games. And Randy Smith just sends in a letter. He's like, hey, I'd really like to work there. And they were like, yeah, we just fired someone. You want to work here? Okay, we'll teach you everything you need. They taught him how to level design. They taught him. There is nothing in gaming that they can't teach you in a few days. It's true. I mean, you don't need a fucking course to do this. If you want to do it, just fucking do it. But I don't see why you would, because it's soul-crushing, mind-numbing work. It is.
And not only that is, you know, I from what I understand, those people make far less money than they did, you know, 5-7 years ago.
Much less, because the teams are fucking huge.
The teams are gigantic to do all this work. And that's something else that I think is, I know that when we talk about games and we talk about systems, we talk about this, we talk about that, we overlook that these are gigantic teams, and how a team this size was able to function together and do this is impressive. Absolutely. Do I want to spend money on it? No. But, you know, that's not across the board. But
yeah, you want Exhibit A for this phenomenon. Play, if you can stomach it, play Assassin's Creed Black Flag and click on the credits, or you might be able to get to it from the menu. It depends on the game. But click on the fucking credits sometime and make sure you set up a tent and have rations ready because it lasts like a week. These credits go on and on. Ubisoft Shanghai, Ubisoft Brazil, Ubisoft Argentina. It just, all these fucking teams had to coordinate to get this piece of shit out in a year and a half. That's why they were able to crank out an Assassin's Creed game in a year. And it's why they were all dog shit. Because it was 20,000 different teams of several hundred people working round the clock on just one element of the game. And then at the very end, like some half-retarded fucking jigsaw puzzle, they just slapped all this shit together and hoped it would be a coherent game. You know, and that's basically what's been wrong with Assassin's Creed and many other franchises for many, many, many years. But Assassin's Creed is the one that comes to mind.
Well, and obviously they've made the same misstep that a lot of fashion lines have made, is that when you try to unite a bunch of third world countries, it can't turn out well.
Yeah, it's true.
Ask Kathy Lee Gifford about that. Oh, that's an old joke. That's an old joke.
Ask the 5-year-old children making Donald Trump ties.
Oh yeah, or the Kardashian clothes or whatever.
Kathy Ireland.
Oh, geez.
She's like the Rolento of clothing, like she in fucking South America.
Oh wow, I see. Because Kathy, you made me excited when I heard Kathy Ireland. Like, that was a good looking bitch when I was a kid.
Back in the day,
man, way back when people cared and stuff. Anyway, what else is on the docket? We keep getting questions about gender study, and I'm not clear on why we're being asked that.
Because we're talking about useless degrees, you see.
Oh, well, there you go.
Any degree that ends in studies, as a rule, by the way, don't fuck with it. Don't fuck with it. Seriously, not with a 9-foot pole. I wouldn't fuck it with your dick.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, you'd do better off in pro wrestling school than you would studying anything ending in studies.
You would. Oh my god. Even a pro wrestling school, like Shawn Michaels had a pro wrestling school.
I had no idea. Really?
Yeah, for a long time. Now that's one I could imagine you could learn some shit at, and apparently that's where Daniel Bryan went to Shawn Michaels school.
But when did Shawn Michaels have a school?
Oh gosh, late 90s, early 2000s.
Okay, so before he had to go to Jesus. All right, that makes sense.
Yes. Before he shacked up with Jesus, he was all about the training new wrestlers, and a few really good wrestlers actually came out of his school. I think Lance Cade did. And so did Daniel Bryan. A few that wound up making it. So, I mean, I can imagine learning something from him. Booker T has a school. I can imagine learning a thing or two from fucking Booker T.
I heard he's got actually a pretty decent school up in Los Angeles. Fatu, the Rikishi, he's got his own school, and
him and Gangrel. They both are. It's like a joint venture.
Oh, are they? Oh, I didn't know about that. See, I will always have nice things to say about Gangrel because I've seen him give shoot interviews, and he seems like a really sweet man. He
is a bro. He is just not, and that's why he never went anywhere, because he wasn't.
He was also Mr. Luna, so
yeah, he wasn't going to shit on anyone to get to the top, and that's probably why his career never went anywhere.
Yeah, but he was married to Luna Vachon for, I think, the rest of her life, and I'm sure that was probably a full-time schedule, just hanging around Luna.
It's true.
So
they had a pretty good match in Australia actually against each other. It was like a hardcore match.
Luna and Gangrel?
Yeah, it was called a Black Wedding match. It was really good actually. I think it's on YouTube.
Oh god, because that sounds like a lot of divorces. Especially in Australia.
No, it was badass.
Oh wow, okay. I didn't know anything about that.
I think it was for a promotion that Vince Russo was supposed to do, but at the 11th hour, he wasn't satisfied with the result, and so he pulled out of the venture, and then it all went to shit. It all.
I see. I mean, I don't want to constantly decry Vince Russo, but I mean, if he wasn't pleased with it, there must have been some trouble. Those must have been a bridge over troubled water, man.
But no, it was pretty bad.
Okay. Because, don't forget, Vinny Rue, he's the guy that thinks this Christian wrestling thing has legs.
No, that's not true. That was a one-off. People mischaracterized that. That was a one-off thing. He didn't try and make a federation.
Oh, I know, but the point is he lent his name to it. He thought there was something to it, but you can't see without taking a chance. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. Yeah, I will not forgive Bash at the Beach 2000 though.
Yeah, I just wonder who woke up one morning and was like, you know what we need? We need the Striper of professional wrestling. That's what we need. By God. That's the DC talk of professional wrestling. This needs to happen, goddammit.
And believe me, they do. I have been to one of these fucking things. I am not talking out of school. I have been to one of these fucking things, and I figured it out. I sat there, and I figured out that I was sitting in a youth room. You've been in a youth room. I know you have. I was sitting because there was a stage and a drum set, but no amplifiers. I'm like, I'm in a youth room. Because it was one of, like, they put in churches in fucking warehouses now. Like, there's not enough churches. Let's keep putting more in fucking, you know, in warehouses. And I could tell I was sitting in a youth room. And I'm watching a wrestling show because I knew I was in a church. And I thought it was just they were renting the place. But then the youth pastor gets up in the middle of the ring and starts saying things and God bless these people and stuff. And then a kid with a fucking pentagram shirt comes in.
Yes!
And he starts, I don't know if he cursed, but he was gonna cuss the youth pastor, and the youth pastor throws a fucking working punch.
Yes!
And this kid sells it like it's a fucking atomic bomb.
I would go to church every day if that happened. Every day!
And then this kid rolls out and does now. Have you ever seen people roll out of the ring? I'm sure you have.
What is it called?
Just usually just a ring exit. But what do? They put their leg down.
Powdering. Sorry. That's
there you go. When you powder, you take your powder. But you put your leg down, and then you step out, right? Well, usually a professional wrestling ring's about 3 feet. The apron's about 3 feet high.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this was a boxing ring that they rented from somewhere, because this motherfucker was like 4.5 feet high. And this kid does the roll out and takes the fucking nest T plunge right onto the fucking concrete, and I felt my feet move underneath me.
Oh my God.
And I know this kid's only making like $10. And
so
I said,
CZW, basically.
I'm like, you did this for a church? God damn. And I looked around, and I looked around, and there were some big fat fucks there. And I said, I figured this out. This is the last group of easy marks. That's it. These are the people that will believe virtually anything, and they're fucking selling for professional wrestling. I'm impressed / deeply saddened. I don't really have an ending for that. I was just serious shit. I mean, I saw this. This was a shoot. This was real. I mean, I could not believe it. Taking bumps on the fucking concrete for Christ.
Yes. Well, you know what? When the alternative is Ring of Honor and CZW,
you know what? You can say what you want about Ring of Honor, but thanks to TNA's recent misgivings, they're the #2 company now.
Yeah, they look like they came out smelling like roses.
New Japan USA is a fucking better drawing company than TNA.
At least when Ring of Honor aren't employing people who are convicted of pedophilia on national television, they're pretty good. They're all right. They're fucking. You heard about that, right?
I did hear about that. I also heard that CZW, though, their champion is a convicted bank robber.
Seriously?
Seriously, the dude with missing teeth. I can't remember his name, but yeah, apparently he, I guess, got stiffed on a payday, so decided, and he's like, I guess his thing was that he's a white thug.
Okay.
Apparently that draws money, and apparently he robbed a bank, and then with no mask on. This is how smart this guy is. No mask on. And then apparently one of whoever was in the bank that got robbed was watching wrestling and saw him and called the police and said, that's the guy. And that's how they found him. He showed up to wrestling that same night to wrestle that he had robbed a bank.
Are we certain this isn't New Jack and Whiteface? That's
what I thought. But no, as it turns out, this was serious. And I thought, I didn't know how to feel, because this is the company, TZW. This is the company that allows the wrestlers to chase each other around with lawnmower blades.
With lawnmower blades and fucking staple guns and... What was it? I still love, that's the only Botcha Mania joke I've ever laughed at in my entire life, because Matthew is one of the most unfunny pricks on the planet. Fucking... it was Austin 316 says, I just kicked your ass. CZW 316 says, I just broke my neck in a backyard in front of 15 people.
No shit, right?
Absolutely factual.
No shit, right? I mean, you know, because they're the ones that have, we've talked about it before, they have the cage of death, which is what I like to refer to as an inside-out hardware closet. All this stuff that you know, and these are the guys that are hitting each other in the head with the fluorescent tubes.
It sounds like this entire CZW strikes me as a federation that was conceived by someone in a role-playing chat room on AOL in 1999. Like, it was just, well, if the Hell in a Cell has a cage, then let's put dynamite on the edge of the fucking thing, and let's have Dobermans. Like, right, what the?
No offense, but that's starting to sound vaguely Japanese when you're talking about dynamite and Dobermans and shit.
This is true.
My goodness. But yeah, I insist though that Ring of Honor is the #2 wrestling company in North America. Well,
it is.
I don't know. Is Mexico still part of North America?
Well, let's see on November 9th.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, you know, you can talk about the fence. Yep. Let's see the Donald pay for one of those.
Well, he could just charge the Clinton Foundation for all their back taxes.
Well, there you go.
Instant fence money.
Instant fence money. People are talking about the backyard wrestling game. Oh my god. Do you remember the backyard wrestling game?
Oh my god. That was on Nintendo 64?
I saw it on PlayStation 2.
It was PS2. Wasn't ICP in that shit or something?
I think something like that. I know that, well, they also had their own territory.
Yeah, they had JCW.
Yeah.
Juggalo Championship.
Which, to be fair, I mean, you can say all the shit you want. It drew more than fucking Combat Zone.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did. And they also had actual stars there. They had X-Pac there. They had Raven. They had guys who actually drew money at one time.
They had Rob Van Dam. All dudes notorious for liking weed. You'll notice that that's a correlation there.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a correlation there. It's funny. You know what's interesting? As I was driving home the other day, and I saw somebody was driving a 97 Chrysler Town and Country.
Yeah,
and it had a Pantera sticker on it. But like the old Pantera sticker, you know, with like the Terry Gloss logo with the hooks underneath.
Oh yeah.
And it was kind of cracked, so it had been on there for a long time, probably since this motherfucker was new. And then next to that was and like, all right, he must be like an old metal guy, and we can get alongside him. And then I see a Sublime sticker.
Oh no.
And then I see an Inner World sticker, which is a local head shop up in Oceanside. I'm like, this guy just likes weed. Okay. Never mind. Never mind. And then I get alongside him, and the windows are tinted in the front. It's like, one of these fellas. I just want to share that.
Defying influence.
I just want to share that with you. But yeah, there was the backyard wrestling game, and how that is. It seemed like they were using recycled properties from the Warriors game, because it was really just walking around hitting people with a board.
Didn't that come about as a result of one of the companies that had been making the wrestling games? What happened was WCW went out of business. So now there's not two companies for the two developers to go with. And then the developer was like, well, fuck, we got to keep making wrestling games or something.
You are correct. That's right. That was Acclaim Entertainment.
Yeah.
That's right, because the last one, which was WCW versus the World, they didn't pay. Acclaim paid nobody for any of their likenesses. Nobody. They didn't pay for the logos, the music, nothing. Nobody got paid on that deal. And that's good of you to bring up. And you're right. It was published by Acclaim. And you want to talk about kayfabe, folks? God damn. Yeah, if there were ever some bullshit artists in the video game, how Acclaim didn't get. I bet you Acclaim did get into the video game school business. I'll bet you anything. If anybody was set up to put that together, wow.
Acclaim towards the end, man. Did anybody fuck their customers or their clients harder and longer than Acclaim towards the end?
Oh man, I mean,
They did not give a fuck. They didn't give 5 fucks. They didn't give a flock of fucks.
No. They gave more dry humps than fucking Mad Cats. They fucking just tore shit up. And they didn't even apologize, nothing.
No shit, man.
And I'm curious, I mean, because people often mistake companies with logos. You know, some of them sons of bitches are around somewhere, and I'm wondering where a lot of those motherfuckers landed. They're probably working for fucking Sony.
Probably. You know, that was around the time that Sony was expanding, and you know, they were buying studios, and they were just changing their name to like Sony East, Sony West.
Yeah, Sony Computer Entertainment, fucking Portugal or whatever.
You know, so I wouldn't be surprised at all. I wouldn't be surprised.
Wow.
Yeah. We should take some questions.
Yeah. Well, did you see anything good?
I'm not in the chat, so I don't know.
Well, it says right here, do you and your black metal band's spirit cook? What does that mean?
Well, you've never been in a black metal band, right? You're more of like a death metal guy,
right? I helped out in a black metal band for like half a year.
Helped out?
Yeah, I played.
Like you were working at a black metal potluck.
I played lead guitar because a lot of black metal guitar players are just rhythm guitar players. And so they needed leads, and I said,
man, no, it's true. Like the thing about if you're a black metal guitarist, and we had this problem so fucking hard. We went through so many goddamn guitarists, and it was entirely because they all wanted to be necrophagist, or they all wanted to be Yngwie Malmsteen. They were all like, well, I don't get to noodle in this.
Your death metal needs more arpeggios.
Yeah. I don't get to noodle at all. This is bullshit. I don't get to show off my fucking subpar guitar chops and shit. And it's funny because the guy we finally got who was stuck with the band and whatever was better than all of them. He was Yngwie Malmsteen. He was fucking genius. But he also was like, you know what? My other band is like, they always want me to play these complicated licks, and I'd really rather just do this tremolo picking shit.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And so, yeah, I helped out and I just played. I was not permanent because I don't like putting makeup on my face that much. I have terrible skin.
Well, that would help.
Yeah. So, but tell your black metal story.
What black metal story?
I don't know, something about spirit cooking, and I don't know what that's all about.
Spirit cooking? No, absolutely not.
Oh, okay. Well, then, no.
I didn't even know what spirit cooking was until 3 days ago.
Oh,
I don't think anyone else fucking did. I don't think the people who did the spirit cooking had any fucking clue what it was.
Okay. Mandrakos wants to know the best babyface in wrestling. The best babyface in wrestling right now, I will tell you without irony in any way, shape, or form. There's a guy on the independent scene. He wrestles for Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. His name is Gentleman Jervis Cottonbelly. And he looks like Mr. Peanut. He wears a mask and the mask looks like Mr. Peanut with a monocle, and he has cotton on his stomach, and that's why he's Cotton Belly. And his gimmick is that he is the nicest man in the world, and he is an amazing worker, an amazing wrestler. I mean, he's the total package, and he's got fucking guns, and he's cut. But his gimmick is, and he gives all the heels roses. And if they get mad and throw it down, he puts them in a headlock, and that gets a big pop. But his gimmick is he is the nicest man in the world. He is the ultimate baby-face. I recommend everybody to check out Gentleman Jervis Cottonbelly. Absolutely,
the happy console gamer of wrestling.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
I don't know.
Here's the thing: I don't think I can pick one, because to say there's a biggest baby face is to imply that anyone is fucking over anymore.
Well, no, who's over is, I mean, if you want to talk about the WWF, the New Day is over.
They were. They were.
I've
not
heard
so
otherwise.
much anymore.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the fact remains is they'll be over again, because what the fuck else is there?
No, the New Day is a classic object lesson in what a short walk it is from great to grating. It is so fucking. They walked that thin line and they fell down on the wrong side. They've gotten to the annoying place. They got there quite a little.
But and the thing is, in this day and age, it's not really their fault.
No, it's not.
I have not kept up with the programming, and that's the thing. They could have been, and there's still a possibility they can be resurrected. There's a lot of people who've stumbled and tripped. The Undertaker wasn't always cool. You can say what you want, but that fucking biker gimmick was fucking lame.
Oh, it was god awful. Wasted some of the best years of his fucking career on that shit.
I think he saved his knees so that he could still wrestle today.
Yeah.
I think during the biker period, he took it easy to where now he's still in the game today.
No, see, the exact opposite happened. I think he did the biker thing so that he could move around the ring more and do more of the shoot fighting shit that he liked. And then once, I think what happened, actually, I believe, when he turned into the Undertaker, the dead man again, in 2004, from what I understand, I think he got hurt right before that. And so...
I know he's been hurt quite a few times in the last few years.
I think he got hurt, and then it was like a way of taking it easy. Was him going back to the... Plus, fucking Biker Taker was god-awful. We just... No one... And there's a... Don't tell that to certain comment sections on the internet, because holy fuck, are there people who love the Biker Taker. I don't know why. I don't know who
I like to call him the
are.
Underbiker myself.
Yeah, that too. I don't know who these fucking people are or why they were allowed to escape from the mental asylum, but...
Well, not only that, it's interesting because you look at... I think this is so interesting. You look at old-timers. I don't want to say old-timers like, they're fucking old or whatever, but Ric Flair. Ric Flair, and, you look at interviews from around that time or when he had been doing that gimmick for a year or so, and all the old-timers thought it was fucking brilliant. Oh, he reinvented himself and blah, 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 blah.
And people still say that. They still toe the company line on that. He found a way to make himself relevant again. And it was like, what? He was relevant before. Like, he left the company because he got hurt.
Yeah, but I mean, and it was something that didn't need to be reinvented. Because it worked the same way babyface and heel just as strong. So why was there a need for a change?
Well, not only that, but he left in late 99. Right? He left in mid to late 99. At that time, he was working the main event with The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin with that Ministry of Darkness shit.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back and he's working with Triple H.
Mm-hmm.
What a rousing success. Like, what? He reinvented himself. By God,
well,
he moved down
the same thing happened when he got hurt in '94 too. Because he disappeared after the Royal Rumble in '94, and then came back to replace the much shorter other Undertaker, the Undertaker, as I like to call him,
the Underfaker. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one too. And for some reason, Leslie Nielsen was called in, that whole thing. But that's the same thing that happens when he came back. It was just, and it's almost like it seems. I know there's talk that Vince, reprograms the whole goddamn show 5 minutes before it goes on air.
Yeah.
And it seems like it must have been that same way because, and I don't know why Mark keeps coming back. Maybe he just doesn't like the idea of working a regular job, and I can understand that.
No, he's a company guy. When Vince calls, he's the dude who always says yes. Like, that's basically him. That's been him. From the beginning.
Well, and apparently so does Vince's kid, and it didn't matter anyway when his kid fell fucking 25 feet for nothing.
No shit. For a subpar buy rate.
For a subpar buy rate of 5 fucking hours, but we can talk about WrestleMania some other time. We actually are getting towards the end of the program, so we thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to follow myself and Razörfist on the Facebook, on the Twitter, all that stuff. And I don't know if you were on the Instagram. I'm on the Instagram because I found out if I just take a picture, people think I'm brilliant. I love that. I took a picture of a fucking bird and everyone's like, oh, that's beautiful. I was like, well, the bird did it, not me. So any parting remarks for everyone, Mr. Fist?
Angry Joe is proof that Sheriff Joe Arpaio only deports the funny Mexicans. That's my parting.
Those are your parting remarks?
God.
Oh, gosh. Well, if that's the way it's going to be, then I don't see any other way to close it. I want to remind everybody that you guys are great. Myself and Razörfist, the current Hate Bit Podcast Tag Team Champions. Hopefully have some new faces on here for you next time. We will not have Monday Night Chaos next week, so we hope to see everybody 2 weeks from tonight. Hope to see everybody then. I want to remind you that you guys are great and that we're coming for you, nigga.
Yes.